It's the middle of the 2023 Major League Baseball season. The Eras Tour is in full swing. Scandival is the talk of social media, and Shohei Ohtani is doing something no player has done in over a century. He's dominating as both an elite power hitter and a lights-out starting pitcher, rewriting the game night after night. He's on the verge of signing the largest contract in baseball history, and right by his side, through every triumph, is the man he trusted most in the world, his longtime interpreter and close friend, Ippei Mizuhara. Ohtani treated him like family. Mizuhara handled everything, his schedule, his money, his life in a foreign country. What Ohtani didn't know was that while he was focused on greatness, Mizuhara was secretly stealing from him. Over several years, Mizuhara allegedly transferred nearly $17 million out of Ohtani's accounts, forging signatures, impersonating him to bankers, and covering massive gambling debts. This wasn't a one-time mistake. It was a calculated betrayal by the one person Ohtani relied on most. Today we follow the lies from friendship and loyalty to wire fraud, forged documents, and one of the most shocking financial betrayals in modern sports. Welcome to Follow the Lies, Fraud and Deceit Uncovered. I'm Kevin Barrows. I'm a former FBI special agent and served as lead case agent on two of the largest white-collar criminal investigations in the Bureau's history. I also co-hosted the Smithsonian Channel docuseries Sports Detectives. I've sat across from executives who stole from their own shareholders, financial advisors who scammed elderly clients, and insiders who sold out their companies for personal gain. After investigating dozens of these cases, I've learned one consistent truth. The most damaging betrayals almost always come from someone the victim deeply trusted. The Ippei Mizuhara case is a perfect example of this. It wasn't a distant corporate theft or a faceless Wall Street scheme. This was a man who had become one of Shohei Ohtani's closest confidants, someone Ohtani relied on daily in a foreign country, systematically stealing nearly $17 million while pretending to protect him. I've seen gambling addiction destroy lives before. When it combines with that level of access and trust, the damage can be catastrophic. As someone who has investigated both organized crime and white-collar fraud, I understand how illegal bookmakers operate and how quickly these situations can spiral out of control. I've also seen how professional athletes, especially international stars adjusting to life in America, can become particularly vulnerable when the wrong people are in their inner circle. This case isn't just about one interpreter and one superstar. It's about the dangerous intersection of modern sports gambling, massive wealth, and unchecked access. It's a story that reveals how quickly trust can be weaponized in today's high-stakes sports world. That's why I wanted to take you step by step through exactly how this betrayal unfolded, from the very first unauthorized wire transfers that quietly drained Ohtani's accounts, to the moment federal investigators began connecting the dots, and ultimately, what this case reveals about the dangerous new realities facing athletes in today's world of unrestricted sports gambling. If you're enjoying these episodes, I'd really appreciate it if you'd hit subscribe, leave a rating and review, and tap the bell so you never miss an episode. Shohei Ohtani first met Ippei Mizuhara in 2013, when they were both working in Japan's Nippon Professional Baseball League. When Ohtani made the leap to Major League Baseball in 2017, he brought Mizuhara with him as his personal interpreter. What began as a professional relationship quickly evolved into something much deeper. Over the next 6 seasons, Mizuhara became far more than just a translator. He was Ohtani's constant shadow, handling every detail of his life in a foreign country. He managed Ohtani's complex schedule, coordinated travel, translated not only language but cultural nuances, ran personal errands, and even assisted with certain financial matters. For an intensely private athlete who had just left his family and home behind, Mizuhara became one of the very few people Ohtani felt he could completely trust. Their bond appeared genuine and brotherly. Ohtani publicly referred to him as one of the closest people and one he relied on the most. They were inseparable, traveling together, eating together, and sharing countless hours in clubhouses, hotels, and on team flights. Mizuhara's access was total, He knew Ohtani's banking information. He knew when large payments from salary and endorsements were deposited. He understood Ohtani's laser-like focus on baseball and how little attention the superstar paid to the day-to-day management of his personal finances. That extraordinary level of trust became the perfect cover. According to federal allegations, Mizuhara began placing bets with a Southern California illegal bookmaker in September of 2021. What started as gambling quickly spiraled into severe addiction. He began placing enormous wagers, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars on a single game. When losses mounted, instead of stopping, he allegedly doubled down, chasing losses with even larger bets. To fund his growing addiction, Mizuhara began systematically stealing from the one person who trusted him most. He transferred money repeatedly from Ohtani's accounts, sometimes wiring hundreds of thousands of dollars in a single day. He forged Ohtani's signature on authorization documents. He created fake emails and communications appearing to come from Ohtani. In some instances, he even impersonated Ohtani during phone calls with bank representatives, using personal details only someone extremely close to him would know. What made the scheme particularly insidious was how Mizuhara weaponized his position of trust. He knew Ohtani's rhythm better than almost anyone. When big deposits hit the account, when Ohtani was consumed with training or recovery, and when he was least likely to notice unusual account activity. While Ohtani was focused on perfecting his craft on the field, Mizuhara was allegedly on his phone coordinating with bookmakers and moving money out of the accounts. He didn't take small amounts. He moved money in large, aggressive chunks, often right on the heels of major deposits. Court documents later described a bold pattern of activity. Mizuhara made hundreds of individual transfers over several years. He went to great lengths to conceal the activity, creating fake paperwork and maintaining the outward appearance of a loyal, trusted advisor. All the while, he continued to stand beside Ohtani in press conferences, translate interviews, and act as his closest confidant in America. As the losses grew, the pressure reportedly intensified. Instead of seeking help, Mizuhara allegedly kept betting larger and larger amounts in a desperate attempt to win back the money he had lost. By early 2024, the total amount allegedly stolen had reached nearly $17 million, but he continued to smile, translate, and maintain the image of unwavering loyalty. This wasn't a momentary lapse in judgment. It was a calculated, long-term betrayal that exploited the deepest kind of professional and personal trust. The beginning of the end for Mizuhara came in October of 2023, when IRS criminal investigation agents and Department of Homeland Security agents executed a search warrant at the home of illegal bookmaker Matthew Boyer as part of a larger investigation into his underground gambling operation. Agents seized Boyer's phone, computers, financial records, and other evidence during the raid. At that time, however, investigators had no idea there was any connection between Boyer and Mizuhara. Boyer's clients were identified only by numbers, not by name, a common practice in illegal bookmaking to shield high-profile bettors. Then, in January 2024, banks began flagging a series of highly suspicious wire transfers from Ohtani's account. IRS investigators, working in coordination with the FBI, started piecing together a disturbing pattern. The case gained significant momentum in March 2024, when ESPN investigative reporter Tisha Thompson published a report revealing that large wire transfers had been sent from Ohtani's personal bank account directly to an illegal bookmaking operation tied to Boyer in Southern California. What they ultimately uncovered was staggering. Dozens of large wire transfers, some reaching as high as $500,000 in a single day, had moved out of Ohtani's accounts and into accounts linked to Boyer's illegal gambling business. When a cooperating witness from within Boyer's operation began working with law enforcement, he divulged detailed betting records for Mizuhara, spanning from December 2021 through January 2024. Those records were eye-opening. Approximately 19,000 individual bets, averaging nearly 25 bets per day, with wager amounts ranging from as little as $10 all the way up to $160,000 on a single game. Now let's go inside the investigation, where I pull back the curtain on how these complex white-collar cases actually get made. In my experience, the biggest fraud cases almost always start with the one thing that's nearly impossible to completely fabricate: bank records. Money always leaves a trail. It tells you where it went, how it moved, when it moved, and most importantly, who ultimately benefited. Of course, in sophisticated schemes like this one, it's rarely straightforward. The money doesn't usually travel directly from point A to point B. Instead, it moves through multiple layers. Different accounts, intermediaries, sometimes shell companies or nominee accounts, all designed to obscure the true source and destination. Following that trail requires patience, precision, and an enormous amount of paperwork. You issue subpoena after subpoena to banks, payment processors, and corporations. You peel back each layer of the onion, identifying true owners, authorized signatories, and real beneficiaries. Every new entity opens more doors and raises more questions. It's a long, tedious, and often frustrating process, but it's the process every experienced investigator knows well. That's exactly how this case unfolded. Federal agents were already investigating Matthew Boyer when the bank records started connecting dots to Mizuhara. Sometimes you get lucky in this work. They had already seized Boyer's phone during the earlier search warrant. Once the cooperating witness and the financial records aligned, the full picture finally came into focus. One particularly revealing aspect of the scheme involved Mizuhara's impersonation of Ohtani. In several documented instances, Mizuhara called Ohtani's banks while pretending to be his famous client. He would use Ohtani's personal details, speak with the same calm confidence Ohtani was known for, and authorize large wire transfers. Bank employees later told investigators they had no reason to doubt the person on the phone was actually Shohei Ohtani. After all, the caller had all the correct account information and spoke with authority. This level of impersonation allowed Mizuhara to move millions before anyone became suspicious. For a brief moment, the scandal threatened to pull Ohtani himself into the controversy. But within hours, Ohtani's representative released a strong public statement making it clear he had no knowledge whatsoever of the gambling or the theft. Bank records, communication logs, and other evidence quickly supported that Ohtani was a victim, not a participant, allowing investigators to focus their efforts squarely on Mizuhara. The evidence against him was overwhelming. Forged signatures, detailed betting records, and testimony from those he had deceived. In June 2024, Mizuhara pleaded guilty to federal charges of bank fraud and subscribing to a false tax return. In February 2025, a federal judge sentenced him to 57 months in prison and ordered him to pay nearly $18 million in restitution, more than $16.9 million of which was to be paid directly to Ohtani. When the story first broke, many people assumed Ohtani must have been involved. The numbers were so huge that it seemed impossible for someone to steal that much without the account holder knowing. The skepticism was understandable. How could one of the most famous athletes in the world be completely unaware? But as the facts emerged, it became clear that this was a profound personal betrayal. Ohtani released a public statement saying he was devastated, and he had considered Mizuhara a friend. The man who stood beside him for years, translating interviews, sharing meals, traveling the country, and helping him navigate life far from home, had been secretly robbing him while pretending to protect him. The emotional toll on Ohtani was significant. He was a young man who had left his family, his culture, and his country behind at a young age to chase greatness in America. In a high-pressure environment where very few people truly understood his world, he had allowed Mizuhara into his inner circle. That trust was not given lightly. Reports from those close to him suggest that Ohtani felt not just financial loss, but a deep, personal sense of betrayal. For someone known for his discipline, quiet demeanor, and intense focus, this violation struck at the very foundation of his life in the United States. Friends and teammates later described him as visibly shaken in the days following the news, a rare crack in the armor of one of the most composed athletes in the game. Beyond the personal impact, the case sent ripples through Major League Baseball. Teams began quietly reviewing their financial safeguards for international players. Some clubs started implementing stricter oversight of players' banking and endorsement accounts. The league issued updated guidelines regarding support staff, interpreters, and financial management. What had once been seen as a routine part of helping foreign players adjust suddenly became a recognized area of vulnerability. The scandal served as a wake-up call that the combination of massive contracts, the explosion of legal and illegal sports gambling, and the intense demands placed on star athletes had created new risks the sport was not prepared to handle. This story also forces us to confront a larger truth about modern professional sports. When athletes earn nine-figure contracts and have easy access to enormous sums of money, but often lack formal financial education or independent oversight, they become prime targets. The people closest to them, interpreters, agents, childhood friends, or advisors can shift from being protectors to potential vulnerabilities. The Mizuhara case shows how quickly a gambling addiction can escalate when combined with access to someone else's fortune and the ability to operate in the shadows. Every case has its place on the deception spectrum, and this one sits firmly in the middle. It wasn't impulsive or opportunistic. It was a calculated, sustained deception that lasted for years. Mizuhara didn't just steal money once or twice. It was a deliberate pattern of forgery, impersonation, false communications, and outright lies, all while maintaining the outward appearance of loyalty and friendship. He exploited Ohtani's trust at the deepest level, while Ohtani was at the peak of his career and most vulnerable in a foreign country. What keeps it from the high end is that it targeted a single individual rather than broadly defrauding the public or an entire industry. The damage here goes far beyond money. For Ohtani, who had built his American life around discipline, focus, and a very small circle of trusted people, this betrayal cut especially deep. It reminded everyone that no amount of talent, success, or wealth makes a person immune to the oldest crime in the world: betrayal by someone you trust. This case serves as a cautionary tale not just for superstar athletes, but for anyone who accumulates significant wealth or places heavy responsibility in the hands of a single individual. Real protection isn't just about contracts or passwords. It's about systems, checks, and balances. Each episode, I share a lie detector tip, a practical field-tested lesson drawn from real investigations I worked as an FBI agent. Today's tip is about the danger of unchecked access, especially when someone close to you has broad control over your money, accounts, or sensitive personal information. In the Mizuhara case, Shohei Ohtani gave one person, someone he treated like family, extraordinary access to his financial life. That trust itself wasn't the problem. The problem was the complete lack of independent oversight. Mizuhara operated for years with virtually no checks, no second set of eyes, and no regular verification. This is surprisingly common with high-earning athletes, actors, and busy professionals who are laser-focused on their craft and delegate their finances to friends or family. Here's the lesson I want you to take away. Trust is essential, but blind trust, with large amounts of money or sensitive information, is a serious liability. My practical advice is this: review your major accounts yourself at least once a month. Never delegate everything. Set up automatic alerts for any transfer above a certain threshold. Never let the same person who writes the checks also be the one who reconciles or deposits them. Have a completely independent third party, a separate accountant, financial advisor, or trusted family member not involved in day-to-day finances, review your accounts periodically. Put everything in writing. Verbal agreements and just trust me arrangements are where problems usually start. If someone gets defensive or evasive when you ask simple questions about money, treat that as a red flag. I've investigated too many cases where victims later told me, "I never in a million years thought they would do this to me." The painful truth is that access plus opportunity plus pressure, like gambling debts, can corrupt even people you believe would never betray you. Real protection isn't about being paranoid. It's about being prudent. Verify, monitor, put simple systems in place. Because once the money's gone, no amount of regret can bring it back. From a trusted friend and longtime interpreter to a convicted thief who stole nearly $17 million from one of baseball's greatest stars, the Mizuhara case is one of the most heartbreaking betrayals in modern sports history. It shows how quickly gambling addiction and unchecked access can destroy even the strongest personal relationships. If you know someone who has been defrauded or betrayed by a close friend, family member, or trusted advisor, or if this has happened to you, I'd very much like to hear your story. Send it to Kevin at followthelivespodcast.com. The most compelling ones may become future episodes. If you want practical, field-tested tools to spot deception and protect what you've built, whether in business, personal relationships, or high-stakes environments, download my free guide, 7 Proven Strategies to Spot Lies and Uncover the Truth in Any Interview. It's available right now at followthelivespodcast.com. No email required. While you're there, I'd love for you to join our growing community on Substack at followthelies.substack.com, where I share deeper dives and exclusive lie detector tips. If you're getting value from these episodes, please hit subscribe, leave a rating or review, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new one. And I'd really appreciate it if you text the link to a friend who might find it valuable. Those small shares help independent shows like this one grow more than anything else. Thanks for listening. Until next time, stay sharp and follow the lies.